Hello there. Boy, have I been burning the candle at both ends for the past 2+ weeks. So much work to do. How are you doing? Greetings and salutations while I clean my glasses here. None of these, what's going on videos are monetized. I do them as communication with you, and of course I read every comment, and I get information sent to me, and I love keeping my head on a swivel, and especially getting information, because the news media is completely corrupt, beyond the pale, even way more corrupt than you realize. I mean, the stuff that they lie about. Also, too, look at their errors of omission. It's not only what they say, which of course is a lie, but the stuff that they omit talking about, which is incredibly important. And there's so many issues. You can't get accurate information anymore. I don't pretend to be a news agent. I don't pretend to do that at all. But I do listen to you, and I do keep my head on a swivel. And I actually ask a lot of people, like, I talk to truckers. Truckers email me. And last video I made like this, I mentioned truckers. And I had a lot of truckers email me and also to leave comments. And by the way, when I was thinking about everything that's going on in the world, there are these miniature rest points. It's kind of like what they did in Australia, where it was so incredibly blatantly obvious, where they'd actually constrict around the public's neck, and they let go for a little bit, and then constrict a little harder. And I've had an enormous amount of thought about this, and I thought, you can't, of course, do anything super fast, because it becomes blatantly obvious, even to the dumbest people. I mean, just blatantly obvious, that if I were so evilly inclined, I know evilly is not a word, would I do it any differently than the way it's happening right now, where there's this, and it's like this seems to be unconnected, and that happens, and then we have this over here. And it's exactly how we would do it. Exactly. If that sounds superficially conspiratorial, I'd actually agree with you. Superficially it does sound that way, but could it be done any other way than that? In steps and stages, using several different methods to escalate people to the point where you've finally got them. You're thinking, and I used to play chess. I don't play chess anymore. I used to be a chess champion in high school. Well, you're thinking several moves ahead of your opponent. Well, if he does this, then that happens, and this happens, and if that happens, then this happens. And the answer is, I would conduct it exactly the same way. Exactly. Remember the old saying, treat them like mushrooms, feed them poop, and keep them in the dark. There's an old tripartite saying of isolate, dominate, and obfuscate, which is just a fancy way of saying divide, oppress, starve, confuse and then dazzle. Once again, that is isolate, dominate, and obfuscate. Never seen so much isolation as there has been these past few years. However, they've been isolating people for years. You get them living. They just work really hard, either from home or at work. Come home, watch a bunch of lying news media, make everybody... I don't care what anybody thinks about this one way or the other. It's actually worse now than it was even a couple of years ago. See, the youngest, healthiest people in the world, I mean, like really young, really helpful, just living in total fear. I see it all the time. I know you see it all the time. It just makes me roll my eyes. I mean, why say anything? If you're going to stick your head in the sand and live in delusion, then fine. This whole divide and conquer premise is getting just too thick for me. So we're seeing planned escalation. Here's something else. You could type this on any Google or Bing search now, too. You're talking about the Mormon crickets, and it's doom and gloom. It's the Mormon crickets, swarms of Mormon crickets engulf these various states and farms, and every news agency is calling it totally biblical. Totally biblical. Just type that in. Type in Mormon crickets. It's the name of these little suckers. Everything seems to be pointing towards, and of course the truckers, droves of truckers have been emailing me and leaving comments and saying that watch it hit the fan somewhere around September, October. I've had a lot of truckers say the exact same thing. People that don't work with each other, they work for different companies, or they're independent truckers, they all seem to be saying the exact same thing. Watch it hit somewhere around September or October. People tell me too, since I read every comment, something I'm noticing, because as people work twice as hard to make half as much money because of radical inflation, then people are getting angrier and angrier that everybody's got a fuse that's about that long now. I mean, I see it all over the place. First things move slowly, then they move really quickly. So tell me if you're seeing people, just pressed right to the brink. People are stressed out and horrible wage slaves before, and I work 7 days a week. I mean, I'm not digging ditches or trenches, but I do work 7 days a week, as this black and blue mark on my thumb indicates from, hitting it with a giant hammer, which is around here somewhere, working until 4 in the morning, essentially every night, just to struggle to pay the bills. And that's, of course, part of isolate, dominate, and obfuscate. You have everybody working as a wage slave, you isolate them. Once you have in any of these governments that are, of course, working collectively under the premise of the WEF, when you say globalism, I don't care what word you use, WEF, globalism, doesn't make any difference. Once you have all these people working so hard, they have blinders on. They can't see anything that's going on around them. They're just working harder and harder and harder to make ends meet and survive. Then you've got them. Once you got them on their knees, it's over with. The whole point, and it should be your point, and it's utterly undeniable, is don't let these people get you on your knees. Once that happens, it's over with. You starve people out, you make people so indebted to the system, because we have a million different systems of control. We have property taxes, house insurance, car insurance, regular taxes, radical inflation. We have another system of control on top of many, many countless systems of control. We can make 1,000 videos about the thousands of systems of control that we all suffer in. Ignorance, lies, and nonsense from public schools, which nobody should ever go to a public school. Property taxes, regular taxes, radical inflation, crazy energy prices. Now, this is a 2-story brick house, okay? It's got 3 bedrooms. I only live in 1 bedroom. Like, other people, leave the lights on in the house that they're not using. I don't do that at all. I only literally live in 1 room. When I go to the kitchen, I turn the lights on. When I'm done, I turn it off. There's never any lights, and I keep the temperature, like I said. The power bill, even here in Kentucky, is over twice as much as it normally is. Everybody, actually, I had an enormous amount of people wanting me to talk about the whole Ukraine/Russia thing. The U.S. Seems to be driving the Ukraine situation into a long-term, protracted proxy war. What this does, of course, is it fuels the MIC, the military-industrial complex, but its main reason that I see is a false excuse to blame Russia for everything. Listen, I lived in Russia for a long time. I am no fan of old Rootin' Tootin'. That's the head of Russia, okay? I'm no fan of his at all, okay? I'm not making any excuses for Russia. I get along great with the Russian people like me, and vice versa. And I know what they did and what's going on to a great degree, but this false excuse and this protracted proxy war, just drag it on as long as possible. Even old Captain Happy of the White House there, Mr. I don't want to say Captain Dementia. Let me just say Captain Dementia then. Even he today, his exact words were, Russia, Russia, Russia. This is just a lie. Fuel prices and inflation are not horrific here in the United States and countless other places because of what's happening in Ukraine due to Russia. It's just an absolute stinking lie. That's just not my opinion, a feeling, or belief. It's just an outright stinking lie. They talk about force escalation, which of course would drive us to World War III. We could of course end the conflict in Ukraine overnight, but that would likely bring us into a World War III situation. But they're also using that as an excuse. Well, we don't want to escalate it too far, we're going to end up in World War III. This is just being protracted out into this endless proxy war, and it serves as a beautiful excuse for bringing everybody to inflation is so high because of Russia. Fuel prices are so high because this is just a lie. I mean, is anybody out there unintelligent enough to believe that nonsense? I mean, apparently there are. Once again, the truckers keep warning me. There's every indicator in the world that there's going to be bad food shortages. Australia, official news media, which is as corrupt as the BBC. I know of no new news media that's more corrupt than the BBC. American news media is right behind it. Australia is really, really bad and tyrannical as well, but they're warning in Australia. I have a bunch of people in Australia that contact me, and they sent me links to articles. Oh, yeah, major food shortage. I've seen pictures of heads of lettuce in Australia that are 11 bucks Aus, 11 Aussie bucks. 11 Aussie bucks, what does that translate into US dollars? 11 bucks for a head of lettuce. It's already that way. I've seen people freaking out at the grocery store over prices. They're just buying the cheapest stuff imaginable. They can't make ends meet. They're trying to make ends meet and they can't. All of this, like I said, if I were the evil entity, the evil Dr. Evil, planning all of this, I wouldn't do it any other way than it's occurring right now. A lot of things that are seemingly unconnected that are driving people to their knees. I could not, because you can't do one or two things as a massive full frontal on the citizenry. You can't do it because it becomes blatantly obvious even to the unintelligent people, just like that, and then it would end instantly. We're talking about a multi-pronged attack to bring people to their knees for a global reset. I am no conspiracy person. Anybody that thinks I'm peddling doom and gloom, I had someone leave me a comment today say, oh, you're peddling doom. Well, this video isn't even monetized. What purpose would I have in doing that? I have no purpose in doing that. Globalism is against natural order. It always fails. The difference nowadays, however, is that we have radical connectivity and trackability. Everything we do is trackable. I don't know if you know about the breadcrumbs that your phone leaves. Everybody now is addicted to their digital devices. We know what everybody's doing, what they're talking about. These demons that desire power, of course, over all people are in fact, of course, the weakest. These people are cowards. Their power, which of course is temporal, only exists because people are complicit to give it to them. The very people that want power over other people are the very ones that should never be given it. But people today are incredibly weak-minded. I know this doesn't apply to you if you feel offended, but anybody with a half a brain can see how weak-minded people have become. Globalism can easily be thwarted, but human beings have become intellectually incredibly weak. They really have. Media right now is demonizing everyone who opposes globalism. If you watched American media, this is a fact. This is not my opinion, and it just coincided with an interview I saw today of the president of Brazil. Bolsonaro is his name. The American media, all of them, have been, just one example, they've been demonizing the president of Brazil as like this, basically as like the devil's henchman, unfortunately. I mean, they really have. I mean, I've watched this over past couple plus years of the United States media demonizing President Bolsonaro, who's the head of Brazil. I watched a nice long interview with him today. Incredibly intelligent, incredibly sensible. I don't know if you think this is politics, I don't care. But everything that he's completely anti-globalist. He is against the New World Order. He is against a certain entity, shall we say, in the East that wants total domination over South America, and essentially has domination over much of South America, except for Brazil. The president, too, of Brazil, I was listening to the attempt that was made on his life, and the guy that did it, for some reason, these entities are not prosecuting him or going after him. It's a long story on that. I'm not going to get into that. Demonizing the president of Hungary, who's also incredibly intelligent and sensible and rational, and he cares about his own people. Basically, anybody that cares about their own people and the protection and safety of their own people has been demonized by the U.S. Media. This This tentacled, evil, lying media. Doesn't that really tell you everything? There are ways in which an intelligent person can watch the media and get a lot from it, not because they're telling the truth, but by having insight and wisdom to see the lies. And who are they demonizing? Well, they're demonizing people that are against globalization. They're demonizing people that believe in protecting their own country, who they were elected to protect. This tells you really everything. I had no idea that the president of Brazil, which I've never seen an interview from him, such an erudite, intelligent, sensible, down-to-earth person, for example. I appreciate your information on what's going on. I like, not hearsay, hopefully, things that you've seen and heard, what you're doing, like apparently a bunch of Meijer execs, I can't confirm this, if you work for Meijers or work in Meijer's corporate, they've been warned that there are going to be bad food shortages somewhere around early October to mid-October. A lot of things are pointing at September to October on like a bad situation occurring. Not just Meijers, that is only pure hearsay. I've not gotten, concrete confirmation on that, but there's a lot of different entities, both truckers and people that work in food distribution. The fact that all the media right now, you could Google that, just type in Mormon cricket. Yeah, it's called a Mormon cricket. All of these entities are collaborating on saying, beware. I'm not saying this is real, I'm not saying it's not real. Are warning by themselves of bad food shortages come September, sometime in October. If you can afford it, you should have non-perishable food, at least 3 to 4 months worth. The more the better. Something that you're going to eat anyway, something that's, a lot of it is, the dried non-perishable stuff isn't necessarily super healthy, like Mountain House meals, but that stuff lasts 30 years. The price on that's gone up like 30% in just the past couple years. So remember, they want to isolate, dominate, and obfuscate. And once they have you on your knees, it's all over with. Doesn't matter what you think, feel, or believe, or are opposed to. Once enough points have been taken, what do they say, death by a million cuts, enough bites have been taken out of your hide vis-a-vis inflation, gas prices, fuel prices, electricity, on and on and on. Once they take enough bites out of your hide, and you're begging for help from the government, there's no difference between the government and the New World Order and evil itself. People that want power over other people are the very people, once again, that should never have it. Once they've got you on your knees because they've taken enough bites out of your hide, it's over with. That's not my opinion or belief. It's a fact, and that's exactly what these people want. If you think that's conspiratorial, then you've had your head in the mud for the past few years. Actually, for many more than the past few years. I am not about doom and gloom. I am not a person that's interested in spreading fear or anything like that. Rational examination, having your head on a swivel, protection for you, yourself, your family, and your loved ones, in your community, whatever that community may be or may not be, however big, however small. I am completely about natural order and self-predestination. You are not under the thumb of some, shriveling coward who's some sort of totalitarian despot or despotic entity that is interested in I'm not going to finish that sentence because you know exactly how that sentence finishes or ends. But there's at least a dozen entities that have warned outright, late September, early. I hope, once again, and I mean this, there would nothing make me happier than for all of this not to come to pass. Okay? All of it. Over the past 2 years, I've had, when everybody else was running around in fear, like the skies, oh my God, they're wearing tin face diapers. I was out and about, did I get to the coof in January, end of January near February? Sure did. Was I afraid of it? I was not. I took that stuff in that bottle that was given to me by that doctor out in Utah. Cured me in 48 hours. I was never afraid the whole time. I've never lived my life in fear. When everybody else was like walking around with N95 masks and hazmat suits and, oh my God, none of that was passing through my head. I was whistling Dixie without a face diaper, living my life, I don't know about to the fullest because I was so busy all the time. I'm not one that's interested in living in fear. Life is too short for that. Okay? I don't never live my life in fear. I'm not interested in spreading fear. If anybody's going to accuse me of anything, call me fat, bald, tattooed, I don't care. But don't you ever accuse me of trying to spread, oh my God, you're spreading doom and gloom, the world's going to end tomorrow. I am not one of those people. I never lived my life that way. And I'm certainly not doing it now. Anyway, I read every comment. Let me know any information or observations that you have. Thank you so much, and have a lovely week. And happy 4th of July. You know, go buy, 4th of July is an American holiday. I know that many Americans are not watching this. Many Americans are. Go out and buy some burgers, have some fun time, be safe and happy, stop living your life in doom and gloom. You know, it's not worth it. There are many millions, if you're an American, there are many millions of honorable men that are laying in their graves to have the freedoms that they want you to have. You know, buy a six-pack, fry some burgers, hang out with your friends and family, you know, give your dog a hug and the loved ones and all that stuff, the whole 4th of July experience. But while doing that, you can also, too, keep your head on a swivel and prepare. Because chance does favor the prepared mind. It always has, and it always will. Remember what they want to do, however. Isolate, dominate, and obfuscate. This trifecta of getting anybody and everybody on their knees, because these people are power mad. And anybody that wants power, by definition, is evil. And you should never submit your power to some unknown entity. Your life is your own. It sure as hell is not theirs to dictate. Yeah, that's the way natural order is, shall be, and ever shall be. And the way it's supposed to be.